This is your election headquarters. Hello and welcome to Election Brief. Coming up in this edition, 28-year-old man stabbed to death at Banda in the Bono region by alleged MPP activist after he was allegedly mistaken to be an NDC member.
When I went to see my brother, he was not able to talk at all. He couldn't even say a word to me.
We'll hear from his family and speak to the police following tension in Banda yesterday. Electoral Commission denies accusations of bias by the opposition NDC, which says it's being treated unfairly in the ongoing voter registration exercise.
And it could border on the fact that the person is not a resident of the locality. You should register within your locality. A polling station is serving a location, so it should be within that location before you register at a specific polling station.
We'll hear from the Commission as it responds to the claims against it. Also, governing MPP describes NDC's lawsuit against the Electoral Commission to register SHS students as an undue obstruction to disenfranchise eligible final year students.
And I contrast without hesitation. It is the ticket that has successfully implemented the biggest intervention in the history.
We are live from our studios in Kokomlemle on digital address GA0992539. Also live on your digital TV and on DSTV channel 421, GoTV 144, and on YouTube, also on myjoyonline.com. Thanks again for your company. Now, a 28-year-old man is dead after he was stabbed at Banda in the Bono region by persons alleged to be MPP activists after he was allegedly mistaken to be an NDC member. He's Silas Wulonchame, and he's a fresh graduate from Akimoda Teacher Training College. He was allegedly accosted by some MPP activists at Banda Cabrono yesterday while returning from a visit to his pastor at Wenchi Methodist. He was allegedly mistaken to be an NDC activist. Micah Pejo is the younger brother of Silas who brought him to the Wenchi Methodist Hospital, and he's been speaking to correspondent Precious Semavo on the circumstances that led to his brother's death.
I
was called by my elders, who told me my brother was hurt and had been brought to the hospital. So when I got there, I asked them what happened, and they told me my brother went to Wenchi Methodist Church, and that the head pastor of the church had asked him to come and see him about a discussion he wanted them to have. So on his way back from the place, he got to Doma Ahinko. A car approached him. Then a group of people asked him where he was from. He said he was from Bada Ahinko, and that was when he was stabbed with a knife. Then they got to Bada Ahinko Hospital, where they said they could not do anything about it. So they took him to the Wenchi Methodist Hospital. They did all they could, but around 6:30 a.m., God called him.
Methodist, Wenchi Methodist Hospital, and the bedroom Hanum so Omuye Omom, the Mumbet my bed, Nina, Anye, and a patutu around 8 o'clock when Nyame, and Nyame 2 Nisafreno.
Well, he says his brother died shortly after he was brought to the Wenchi Government Hospital, and he's been recounting Silas's last moments.
No want Nyamianum no Timin Casacra, want Timianca one way the crampo, and Cheremi, and one say, no, Shemini.
When I went to see my brother, he was not able to talk at all. He couldn't even say a word to me. He was just looking at my face. So when we got there, the doctors did all they could, but he wasn't able to talk still. They used a knife to stab his back once, but really penetrated through him. According to the doctors, the knife affected his lungs and the flow of blood. They did all they could, but it didn't work.
anye ye.
Well, correspondent Precious Semevo has been following up on this developing story. He joins us on the line with more. Precious, has anyone been arrested in connection with the killing?
As of now, no. No one has been arrested that we know of. As of now, no. Nobody has been arrested.
And we understand that the police are actually investigating this matter. Have you heard anything on what they've been able to pick up in connection with the killing?
The information I'm taking from the police indicates that it's early days yet. They are still investigating because the incident happened in the night, around 8 p.m. at Kabruno on your way to Bandahinko. So they are still investigating it. And then the boy had to be brought from Banda to Wenchi for further treatment because the health facility in Bandahinko could not handle the situation that he was in. That is why he was transferred to Wenchi for further assessment. But unfortunately, as his Micah said, around 6 a.m. this morning, he lost his life. And about the situation appears a bit milky. As we understand, it is the genesis of all this has to do with the voter registration as to who has the right to come to Bandahinko or the Banda district, to be registered and then vote. Who has the right? Whether people are busing people from place to the other constituency appears to be what triggered the tension between the two main political parties, the NDC and then the NPP. Now, the disturbances, as we understand, started yesterday, leading to cars being vandalized, some gunshots, some people sustaining injury, about 5 of them sustaining injury. Now, I understand from a press briefing in Bandahinko by the regional youth organizer of the New Patriotic Party, Rajak Opon, that they are accusing the sitting MP, Ahmed Ibrahim, of masterminding the attack on their people because of their resisting people coming into the...
Right, so that's Precious Semevo. He's our Bono regional correspondent with that update on the killing of a 28-year-old man in Banda. Now, the Electoral Commission has denied accusations of bias by the opposition NDC, which says it is being treated unfairly in the ongoing voter registration exercise. General Secretary of the party, Johnson Asiedu Nketia, last week said the Commission and other government agencies were unfairly targeting their members. He alleges the police last week arrested and detained 4 of its members on suspicion that they were Togolese, but failed to take any action when the NDC made similar complaints about the MPP.
In today's case, some NDC people are also trying to push other people from the queue because according to the law that the police have applied so far in the registration is that people who are deemed to be ineligible can be prevented from registration. So they are also insisting that, well, challenge or no challenge, the same principle that was applied in their stronghold with the support of the state security, they must also apply that same principle.
And your party to be a law-abiding party.
Yes.
Why won't you follow the due process, allow them to register, and then you challenge them with the... It
is the people who are in charge of the due process who are breaching the law. So who are you going to report? Because the matters we are talking about, I'm quoting the words of the policeman to you. And I'm saying that Michael Asiedu.
What did he tell you?
Well, he has alleged that his hands are tied.
Who are those?
So who is tying his hands, we don't know.
He didn't tell you?
No. And that is, it goes to confirm our suspicion that, look, we are fighting not with the Electoral Commission or MPP alone. We are fighting the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. And that is the Electoral Commission, government, and the state security, all deployed against us. And so I'm saying that if you want peace, peace must be based on justice. You cannot be aspiring to go to heaven when you don't want to die.
And as you know, the NDC has also accused the EC of deploying fewer materials to their strongholds. But the Electoral Commission says the claims are false. Director of Electoral Services, Dr. Kwaku, says the process is the same across the country.
There were some concerns expressed by the main opposition party. We're talking the NDC here. And they felt that if you look at where the problems were coming from, they were mainly in their strongholds. Let's say even in Accra, you have it in Ayawaso, East, Central, and some of those places. In some polling or some registration centers where if there was a polling center, usually NDC would get the highest vote. So they have these claims being made. And they justified.
Walker,
sir,
it covered every district in the country. So it was not specific to a particular region or district. Every region, every district had an increment in the numbers of the kits. So the challenges affected every district in Ghana. So I don't think anybody can claim that it is their stronghold. It covers every district and every region in Ghana. So that's so that we were doubling the figures. So every region, if the district was already operating 20, they were now going to 40. If they were operating 5, they were going to 10. So it affected every district and every region in Ghana. That's again, but for the COVID. Because if you look at the records, it has been very good. The patronage has been very good. The people have been comporting themselves. But unfortunately, the COVID protocol observation has been the challenge. But you can consider that comparatively, the second phase or the second batch has been very successful than the previous with respect to the social distancing observation and the rest. So,
he's also denying claims that the Commission had denied NDC members who live along the borders of the country the opportunity to register, and he's also revealing that they had observed more challenges at the border.
There were some concerns expressed by the main opposition party. We're talking the NDC here. And they felt that if you look at where the problems were coming from, they were mainly in their stronghold.
So I was a deputy regional director in Central Agency, so I know the terrain very well. What I'm told is that the candidate went to a community, the name I just...
Now, you do recall that the Electoral Commission withdrew the voters' identification card issued to the opposition NDC's parliamentary candidate for the Cape Coast North constituency, Kwamena Mintanyako. Dr. Kwaku has been providing more details.
My briefing, you know, I was a deputy regional director in Central Agency, so I know the terrain very well. What I'm told is that the candidate went to a community, the name I just escaped me, it's just around the Terridge area, to register. So when you went there, he quoted a residential address. The place is called Nkamfwa. He quoted a residential address. And somebody who was there said that you don't reside at Nkamfwa. So the person, you know, the challenge system is that if somebody is registering, the person is not qualified. You only call the attention of the registration officer to that. The applicant will be informed that somebody wants to challenge your registration. It is left to the applicant to decide that, okay, then I'm not registering, or I want to register. If the applicant wants to register, then the challenger will fill the challenge form, citing the grounds that he thinks that the person is not qualified. It could be border on nationality, that the person is not a Ghanaian. It could be border on age, that the person is not up to 18 years. It could border on the soundness of the mind, that the person is not of sound mind. And it could border on the fact that the person is not a resident of the locality. You should register within your locality. A polling station is serving a location. So you should be within that location before you register at a specific polling station. So on any of, or you can even challenge that you have already registered and you want to register again. You can do that. So when the person challenged, there are these grounds are on the form, and there are portions for them to take. So you only take what is applicable to you, the reason for your challenge. Now, when you do that, the ID card is not given to the applicant. This registration review committee is set up, and you will appear before them. So my information is that the person was challenged that he doesn't stay at the house which he's quoting the house number. So they appear before the review committee, and it will interest you to know that on the review committee, all the political parties which are active in the district are members of the committee.
Let's stay with the NDC and its parliamentary candidate for Ayawaso West Wogon constituency, John Dumelo, has accused the MP for the area, Lydia Alhassan, of orchestrating physical abuse and attacks of registration agents perceived to be members of the NDC. Mr. Dumelo alleges police personnel deployed at registration centers in some instances have looked on whilst NDC members are assaulted. In a strongly worded statement issued by Mr. Dumelo, the actor turned politician, observed that since the police has failed to act in spite of several complaints to them, they would resort to alternative release to ensure their members are protected from acts of thuggery and hooliganism. We've been joined via Zoom by the NDC's constituency chairman for Ayawaso West Wogon, Bismarck Aite. Thanks for your time, sir. For the purpose of clarity, are you accusing Madame Lydia Alhassan of being behind the alleged assault of NDC members? Hello, Mr. Bismarck Aite. If you can hear me, and I do understand you're joining us via Zoom, turn on your audio, please. The question I'm asking is, are you saying that the MP is behind the assault of this alleged assault of NDC members?
Good afternoon. I didn't hear the earlier presentation that you made, but I assume you are talking about the press release by our parliamentary candidate and by his spokesperson.
The question I was asking has to do with the alleged attacks against your agents or members, and that was contained in a statement released by your parliamentary candidate, John Dumelo. What I'm asking you is that, are you saying that the MP is the one behind these alleged attacks?
Yes, the alleged attack. Whatever is going on in this process, it lends credence to her, because all these agents we are talking about are working for Lydia Alhassan. And if we have to put on record, the first week of the registration exercise, my deputy organizer was slapped by tax that we don't know where they came from. There was a little confusion at Sabaho. All that we can see was that these regional organizers of the NPP brought this tax in cars, and they raid on my youth of my deputy organizer. Notwithstanding those things, we accommodated them and we were working together. Yesterday, the same thing happened. These tax wearing national security attire, they came on campus at the Nelson hotel, and they slapped our agents for asking for basic things. So for us, we are not happy with what is going on, because our West Wogon has become a hotspot that we need to avoid. But coming into the picture with our current member of parliament, Lydia Alhassan, the situation is becoming worse every day. Every day there are lots of confusion that result in a lot of fights here and there. And all these things are done in the interest of our member of MP.
Mr. Aite, so have you reported all these incidents? Because these are very serious allegations that you're making. Have you reported them to the police?
Yes. We went to the first instance, the deputy organizer, we reported to the police. We went to hospital at Lagos Hospital. Yesterday too, we reported to the police and we went for police form, and the gentleman was attended to at the Lagos Hospital. So it is clear that it is an attempt to suppress us, to ensure that they frustrate us. To be very frank with you, the Electoral Commission are also supervising this ongoing brouhaha. That the Electoral Commission must be up and doing. Can you imagine that an electoral officer, when somebody wants to challenge any person, all that you have to do is to release the challenge form. By any time our agents, NDC agents, want to challenge an MPP person, the Electoral Commission officials fail to give us their challenge form. In some instances, there's instances where the electoral officer who was not supposed to be on duty joined his colleagues. And when somebody wanted to challenge a registrant, that person who was not on duty but he came there to support refused to release the challenge form, and he ended up giving the card to the registrant.
All right, Mr. Aite, very quickly. Mr. Aite, if you can hear me, very quickly. If you can hear me, in the parliamentary candidate statement, he did indicate that they're going to resort to other means to protect their members. What exactly do you mean by that? Give us some clarity on that.
We can also use the Ghana police because we continue to report the cases. Apart from using the Ghana police, at least we must also protect ourselves. If the state is refusing to protect us, if the state is encouraging this vigilantism, my sister, you all know.
So that's the NDC's constituency chairman for Ayawaso West Wogan, Bismarck Aite there. Now, there's widespread condemnation of the visit of some functionaries to some school registration centers in Kumasi, where they interacted with students. National Youth Organizer of the MPP, Henry Nana Boache, and others are captured in viral social media pictures engaging with students of the Kumasi Anglican Senior High School. There are questions about the motive for the visit when parents are barred from seeing their children in school due to fears about the spread of COVID-19. Ashanti Regional MPP Youth Organizer Dennis Kwaku has been justifying the action with similar visits by the NDC with Electoral Commission accreditation to monitor registration. Nanaya Ojima has more.
There are questions about the motive for the visit when parents are barred from seeing their children in schools due to fears about spread of COVID-19. Ashanti Regional MPP Youth Organizer Dennis Kwaku has been justifying the action with similar visits by the NDC with Electoral Commission's accreditation to monitor registration. Listen to him in a conversation with Love FM's David Akwete.
If you talk of school visitation, if you go to the school, you ask for the housemaster or whoever.
Bottom line, you had an engagement with students.
No, we didn't.
Interaction with students.
No, you cannot tell me. You cannot tell me there was no. No, take your time. Take your time.
I am taking my time. I just want to ask a question.
David,
you said that you asked them how.
I don't want us to banter over this. We did not visit. It's the same as every registration center that we visit. In fact, if you go to Kumasi Anglican, the prospective registrants over there were about 1,004 or so.
Right. So in the last few hours, the MPP has been addressing a news conference. Nanaya Ojima is there. Nanaya, what can you report?
So the NPP has been answering questions about their motive of going into these schools. And according to Nana Boache Henry, who is the youth organizer of the party, he says they only went there to monitor elections, to monitor registration in these areas. And they've been also answering questions on the coming from the opposition NDC on why the EC is registering students in these schools. And according to the NPP, even though these registration centers are not gazetted centers, they believe, they say the EC agreed with the parties to conduct these registration in the areas, and they purposely are registering these students under the codes of the registration centers closer to them. So if they go to the area, the next nearby registration center closer to the school or the campus of these schools they are registering these students under the codes of these registration center. So they don't necessarily have to gazette all these registration
right.
in the campuses of.
So we do understand that they also raised the issue about the NDC suit against the Electoral Commission. What have they been saying about that?
Araba, if you could ask your question again.
I was asking about the issue of the NDC suit against the Electoral Commission. That was raised at the press conference. What did they say about that?
They are saying that it's not relevant. They just want to delay the process of the registration with these lawsuits because, according to them, it was agreed at IPAC that the EC will conduct these registration in the various senior high schools. And also, even though these are not gazetted registration centers, they are registering under the codes of the nearby registration centers in these areas. So, according to them,
Nana Yaljima with that update from the MPP press conference in Kumasi earlier today. But that's a wrap for Election Brief for today. I'm Arba Kumsi. Remember, you can join us every weekday at 1:30 p.m. Have a good afternoon.